Welcome back to Mock Draft 4.0. It's me, Jace, and you guys are back on my channel. As we continue to march towards the 2021 NFL Draft, which is going to be in front of people with players in attendance, and that makes me happy because that's when the draft is the most fun. So I did want to clear some things up though before we get started because I saw a couple comments that kind of threw me off a little bit. The first one was about off the field issues. When I mention off the field issues, I'm not talking about hobbies or rapping or dancing or singing or cooking or anything like that. I'm talking about guns, assault, sexual assault, drugs, suspensions. That's off the field issues to me, not hobbies. So when I mention a player with off the field issues, don't take it as I'm saying, oh, well, this guy raps, so he doesn't have the passion for football. I never said that because I don't believe that. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, like, I'm not Todd McShay. I'm not Mel Kiper. I'm not Daniel Jeremiah. I'm not Bucky Brooks. I'm not a draft expert. My name is Jace, and I just like to watch football, all 22, college football, and do drafts. That's it. Like, I've never pretended to be anything that I'm not, right? So I encourage dialogue. I encourage discussions in the comments. Absolutely. But I'm going to come with facts, and I hope that you would come with facts if you disagree with any of my picks, right? And that's okay. Like, you're more than welcome to have that opinion. I do appreciate you for watching, though. The third thing, and then we'll get started with the mock here. So, third thing is the trades that I do, right? Every trade that I've done in any mock is based off of a real trade. When I mention the trade chart matches up with these real trades that happen. So the trade chart is legit. It's what NFL teams use. I try to keep this as authentic as humanly possible. So when I say, well, you can pick up a third round pick by moving back X amount of spots, you can't comment and say that, well, no one would do this trade, because a team will. A team did that specific trade last year in the first round for the same amount of spots. So I try to keep it as authentic as humanly possible, just because I think that's more fun than cheating a simulator. But we're gonna jump into it as always with the Draft Network. I encourage you to subscribe to the premium so you can do the trades and make your own boards and all that good stuff. I don't have a board yet because I'm still watching players, but I think when I do my last mock, that's when I will reveal my board. So first pick here is Trevor Lawrence. I bet all the money in my wallet that he is going to be the pick here. I don't know how you go with any other person here. 90 touchdowns, 17 picks in college. He's a baller. So Zach Wilson is going to be the pick here for the Jets. He still has those durability issues for me, but I don't really like those. So I'm not saying I would take Justin Fields over him, but I would consider it just because I mean, Justin Fields is a guy who, no injuries don't affect Justin Fields. He gets hit in the ribs. He gets up. He comes back, wins the game. That's what I want in a quarterback. I don't like shoulder labrums and shoulder tears on quarterbacks. I just don't. But Zach Wilson does thrive in this kind of offense that Mike LaFleur is going to run with the Jets. A lot of motion, a lot of play action, a lot of crossing routes. And so I think he'll have a lot of success in the Jets offense. Now, as for the third pick to the San Francisco 49ers, it is going to be Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a player that if I played football, right, I would love to be on Justin Fields' team, right? Because Justin Fields is the guy that you would want in the foxhole with you. Just watch the Sugar Bowl. He gets his ribs cracked by a helmet, comes back, throws touchdowns like it's nothing. That is what you want in a quarterback. Like that's Matthew Stafford against Cleveland, where his shoulder gets destroyed. He comes back, throws the game-winning touchdown. That's what you want in a quarterback, because that's a guy that's going to go. He's going to fight with you to the end. He's going to go all the way to the end with you, and I believe that is Justin Fields. Justin Fields is going to join an offense, with Kyle Shanahan that's pulled good seasons out of Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan. I still believe he locks onto reads at times, and he may throw a lot of interceptions early on, but I still have him as the pick here. So the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock here. Falcons need defense, and if the Falcons want to reach on a defensive player, then they're more than welcome to. I don't see that happening. If they want to take Kyle Pitts, I mean, I can understand not wanting to pass up Kyle Pitts, but I don't really think your offense is the issue with your team. I think you have a lot of defensive issues. So what we'll do is we'll do the same trade that we've been doing here with Denver and Atlanta. Denver comes up. I don't think Drew Lock's a good quarterback. I think Drew Lock is backup quarterback in the league. So this trade that I'm going to do is based off of the Philadelphia Eagles and Cleveland Browns trade for Carson Wentz, where they went up 6 spots to get a quarterback, where Denver's going to go up 5, right? So that is the trade that I'm basing this off of. I just want to make that clear for you. So we're going to do 9 and 71 for 4. We're also going to throw in a 5th round pick, 152. And then we're going to go to 2022. We're going to give up a 1. And then they're going to throw in a 3rd here. And so we're going to do this trade. We're going to send this over. Atlanta should take our offer. There we go. They have accepted the offer. The Denver Broncos are going to jump up to select Trey Lance. Here's what I'll say. I know Trey Lance is raw, but I don't think Trey Lance is going to come in and stink it up the way Drew Lock did. I think he can be a better quarterback as a rookie than Drew Lock is, in the league now. So I would take him. To hell with sitting him. Play him week 1 and let him just throw that ball to Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler and Sutton and all those weapons that you have, and Noah Fant and all that good stuff. So Cincinnati's on the clock here. Offensive tackle is a pretty deep class. After the 5 that'll probably go in the first round here. You'll have Eichenberg, Ray Duns, Leatherwood, Mayfield, Brady Christensen, Jackson Carman. Those are some really decent offensive tackles who could be starters in the NFL. But they're not Penei Sewell and they're not Rashawn Slater. And then you look at receiver, for example. You have the 3 receivers here. Bateman, then Elijah Moore. Then it gets kind of thin as receivers begin to get kind of shorter in height and become more athletic and less number 1 dynamic receivers. They become more like gimmick receivers, more like slot receivers. And so if I am the Bengals here, I'm taking the wide receiver. I'm getting Jamar Chase to pair with Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow is just going to make it work. And hopefully his offensive line is a little bit better than this past season when he gets some help later in the draft in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Miami's on the clock here. The Dolphins moved around, picked up some more picks, whatever. But the Dolphins have always had their eye on their guy, and that's why the Dolphins would only go so low in the draft, right? Because, again, it's about putting Tua in a position to be successful. That's all this is about. And, you can give him, Alabama receivers. I know a lot of people just want to give him one of his Alabama guys, and I can see that, but I still believe that 1 running back, 2 tight end, 12 personnel is the best offense for the Dolphins to run with this quarterback. And so I'm going to take Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts may be the first pass catcher off the board, but I still believe Kyle Pitts is the top 6 pick. So after this, the Detroit Lions are going to be on the clock here. While I do believe Waddle is the more explosive player, I think Smith is more durable and more refined. He had 44 catches of 15 or more yards last season. That's insane. And he's really quiet. He's a hard worker. Doesn't really have any, off the field issues or anything. And I think that's what Detroit loves. He has a Calvin Johnson type personality where it's a very quiet guy that just goes about his business, works, dominates, and that's it. That's all he is. I'm not saying he's going to be Calvin Johnson, but I'm saying his mindset and his personality reminds me a lot of Calvin Johnson. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a Devontae Smith here. Carolina Panthers are on the clock, and Scott Fitterer and Tepper and Matt Rule should be doing backflips right now because they're about to get Penei Sewell at 8. They have a quarterback. They have offensive weapons. Defense could use a little help. You could possibly take a corner here. But I don't see how this team passes, on an offensive tackle. Taylor Moton got tagged, and Cam Irving is on a 2-year deal, but Cam Irving is not your franchise tackle of the future. So we're going to go ahead and go Penei Sewell here. The Atlanta Falcons are on the clock here. And again, the Falcons need edge rushers. I'm not taking Jalen Phillips at 9. I'm not taking Ojulari, Pay, Owe, or Tryon, or Ronnie Perkins. When I tell you Ronnie Perkins might be one of my favorite edge rushers, and he is just ridiculous. Him and Boogie Basham, man. But the Falcons are here, and the Falcons, they could take a corner, they could take Surtain, they could take Horn, they could take Newsome. But if you're the Falcons, you're like, well, let's see, that we can still get our guy if we move down again. Who wants to come up? Because it's quarterback sitting right here. Who wants him? Chicago's probably going to call. New England's going to call. Washington's going to call. Washington is going to move up here in this mock draft. So the Washington football team will come up here with the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is going to go from 9 all the way down to 19, which is perfect because on this board, the pass rushers begin to pop up at pick 17. So it's perfect for Atlanta to move down and get their edge rusher and pick up more capital. So they're going to do 9 for 19. They're also going to do a 2021 third. Then they're also going to throw in a 2021 first. And then a second is the more realistic one. But, just for whatever, I'll do a third because I think people will be kind of thrown off by the second. But Atlanta is going to pick up more first-round picks here, pick up an extra first-round pick. And Washington's going to come up with Atlanta. Washington's going to come up to get their guy, which is going to be the quarterback out of Alabama, which is Mac Jones. Mac Jones, I think Mac Jones fits this. I think Mac Jones is an underrated deep ball thrower first. That's what I want to say, but I think he fits his offense perfectly. The point of the Washington offense is to just not be stupid. That's all you have to do in this offense. Don't turn the ball over. Don't fumble. Don't throw interceptions. Keep it short, intermediate, take care of the football, hand the ball off to Antonio Gibson, and just that's it. That's all you have to do. And I think that is a perfect quarterback. I think Mac Jones is the perfect quarterback for that. Maybe Mac's not ready to start week 1, but that's why you have Fitzmagic. So the Washington football team moves up here. So now from what I've been hearing about Dallas specifically, Dallas does need offensive line help. But Dallas also needs defense. Jalen Waddle would be tempting here just because you want to take the best available player. But I think Dallas just has to get the more refined corner, which is going to be Patrick Surtain. And I say that because Dallas, if you look over the last decade, Dallas has leaned towards the bigger schools, right, in the first round. I think about USC with Tyron Smith, LSU with Morris Claiborne, Oklahoma with CeeDee Lamb, Wisconsin with Travis Frederick, Notre Dame with Zach Martin, Ohio State with Zeke Elliott. Like, they tend to lean towards the larger schools. So I think that'll come into play here just because a lot of the personnel staff is still the same, even though the coaching staff changed. So we're going to give them Patrick Surtain. They're not going to move down in this mock draft. They're going to take Patrick Surtain. The New York Giants are on the clock here. The Giants are going to be very tempted as well, just like Dallas was, to take Jalen Waddle. But you have Tate Crowder on your team, and Tate Crowder is a horrible linebacker. There's a linebacker in the draft with 192 tackles and 19 for loss in 26 games, 6 forced fumbles, 4.36 speed. He's decent in coverage, but he can hit and he can run, and he's worthy of being one of the first defensive players off the board. That linebacker plays at Penn State, and his name is Micah Parsons. So New York Giants are going to select Micah Parsons. That's kind of a consistent thing you've seen in the previous mock drafts as well. I just think that's a guy you can kind of pencil into New York, especially if he gets past Dallas. And then with Dallas picking up Jalen Smith's option, I could see where they could be interested in Micah Parsons. But pick 12, the Philadelphia Eagles. So Eagles fans are going to be throwing a party here because Eagles fans will say, well, we have a corner that we can take, and we also got a receiver we can take. And it's a party for Howie because Howie moved down, got an extra first, and it can still get a really good player. I think the Eagles, they have to put weapons around Jalen Hurts. And there is Jalen Waddle sitting right there, 5'9", 180. He's explosive, 18.9 per reception, which is second in Alabama history. Think about the receivers that have come out of Alabama. He is second. He is second in yards per reception, but he's first at a receiver. You know who's first all around? It's Ozzie Newsome, and he was a tight end. So Statistically, when it comes to per reception, he is the best receiver in the history of Alabama. Now, that happens because he doesn't really get, into a situation where he gets bullied at the line or where he gets pressed at the line. He gets a lot of free releases. I don't know if you get that in the NFL. But we're going to give the Philadelphia Eagles Jalen Waddle. They're going to get another receiver in the first round. At least Jalen Reagor last year, and didn't trade up for CeeDee Lamb or passed on Justin Jefferson as well for whatever reason. But they're going to get another explosive receiver to see if they can get it right with this one. The Los Angeles Chargers are on the clock here. And I know that in almost every mock I have given them Rashawn Slater. But Rashawn Slater as a tackle may not be a great tackle, right? I think Christian Darrisaw is a left tackle for the next decade. Motor never stops. His hand movement, he doesn't grab. He just never stops. He might be, I don't want to say anything crazy, but if I'm looking for a pure left tackle prospect, I'm taking him over Rashawn Slater. I think Rashawn Slater is the more athletic player, maybe the more flexible player. But when it comes to being a pure tackle, I think Christian Darrisaw is the second best tackle in the draft behind Penei Sewell. So normally the Chargers wouldn't move up to get Slater on the trade up, but I'm gonna give them Darrisaw. And I'm going to explain why with the next pick, which is going to be Minnesota after this. So they're going to select Christian Darrisaw. And then Minnesota's on the clock here. They're going to actually select the Rashawn Slater, right? And here's why. Rashawn Slater may be a very good offensive tackle. But Rashawn Slater is going to be a Pro Bowl guard. That's it. I think Rashawn Slater can flex out at tackle and be good. But I think he could flex in at guard and go to some Pro Bowls and be an all-pro. That's what I believe. I believe he's that athletic at guard. That arm length, regardless of how you feel about it, studies show that, tackles with shorter arms aren't really some of the best tackles in the league, right? So he's just a good tackle. He's a great guard, I think. So Mason Cole is slated to be the left guard of Minnesota, but he's not that good. He's a free agent after this year as well. So I would go ahead and just give them Rashawn Slater here. The New England Patriots are on the clock here, and they're going to look towards linebacker here. Now, the thing about the Patriots, though, is that corner is very interesting just based on Stephon Gilmore's, future and things like that. But I think you have to take one of the most athletic defensive players in the draft. This guy looks like he's been fired out of a cannon. He was built in a lab. He can cover his tail off. He could drop back and play safety. He can play linebacker. He rode tight ends and wide receivers up the field. He was first team All-American, first team All-ACC, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, the Buckets Award winner. He's a Swiss Army knife. The New England Patriots are going to select Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. That's just a guy that the Patriots can mold into what they want him to be. And I think the Patriots love those kind of guys who are very flexible and can play several positions. And so I think JOK is going to be the pick there. So the Arizona Cardinals are on the clock here. And much like Carolina, when they got Penei Sewell at 8, the Cardinals are doing backflips because they're about to land J.C. Horn at pick 16. J.C. Horn is the most athletic corner to me in the draft. But I think, like I said, Pat Surtain is a technician. J.C. Horn is a dog. I feel like J.C. Horn is going to come in to camp in Arizona and be like, "Where's Nick Hopkins? I want him all camp." And I feel like that's the kind of mentality that J.C. Horn has. He did that at Florida when they played Kyle Pitts. He was like, "Where's the best player? Oh, it's Kyle Pitts. Give me him all game, lockdown." And that's what it was. And that's the kind of player that he is. I think he brings that dog mentality. And I think getting him at 16 is actually going to be a steal. So if you've noticed so far, really the only trades that we've done are for quarterbacks, right? Because I feel like this draft is going to fall a lot like last year's draft, right? And if you remember at last year's draft, we were kind of coasting along. It wasn't really a lot of trades going on. Players are going in the top 10. Then San Francisco, went up, because of Ken Law, whatever. But a lot of teams didn't move. A lot of teams just kind of sat where they were and let the board fall to them. And I think that's what we're going to see this year, because as far as needs, like, there are really good players that you can get if you just sit at your pick. So like the Raiders, for example, the Raiders are here at 17, and the Raiders need offensive tackle. And it just so happens that the tackle on the board, Tevin Jenkins, played 26 starts at right tackle. And guess what the Raiders need? A right tackle. And they don't have to move to get him because the board falls that way. I think that's what we're going to see. Tevin Jenkins fits this team like a glove. Colton Miller, like I said, holds down the left tackle position. He got his 3-year extension. So he's the tackle of the future. They need a right tackle. Go ahead and secure Tevin Jenkins, and he fits that Raiders mentality to a T. So if you noticed, we got to pick 17, and we ain't seen an edge rusher. So it sounds like Atlanta made a good choice by moving down twice, because they're still going to get an edge rusher, one of the top edge rushers. But the Dolphins are on the clock before Miami, or before Atlanta, and they're going to select Azeez Ojulari. Ojulari's fast off the edge, has physical hands, but he's raw. He's raw like sushi. He needs more moves, but he led the SEC in tackles for loss, forced fumbles, and sacks. He can develop into something special in Miami. And so I'm going to go ahead and give Miami Azeez Ojulari, which is something that's kind of becoming common in these mocks. I just think he is the best pass rusher, or the safest pass rusher, because while I believe Jalen Phillips is the best edge rusher, he has a lot of issues that we'll talk about later in the draft that kind of scares me into not picking him in the top 20. But pick 19 is going to be the Atlanta Falcons. So the Falcons do need edge rushers. They're going to select Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is a freaky athlete. He does a lot of, he can bend. His 3-cone is insane. He's good. He's going to slide in that defensive end, and he's going to be good against the run, and his motor's never going to stop. But much like Ojulari, he's not developed as a pass rusher. He's a good player. But I like Kwity Paye. Kwity Paye is a good story too. Kwity Paye is a guy you want to root for, and he's a solid player. He's going to come in, he's going to shut the run down, but hopefully they can work with him in Atlanta and get him some pass rush moves. So, now Atlanta finishes night one, right, with 3 first-round picks in 2022, plus they got to keep their pick in 2021 to get an edge rusher. So Atlanta was really smart by moving down twice, because next year it's going to be a lot of defense. Next year is not a quarterback draft. It is defense. If you can turn those 3 picks into Derek Stingley, Zach Harrison, and Kayvon Thibodeau, 3 very good defensive line, 2 very good defensive linemen, and Stingley, a very good defensive back. Like, you can have a lot of success on your team if you take those 3 picks and you turn them into something good. They're going to take those trade downs to get those 2 extra first-round picks to help their team out next year, which, of course, then you can maneuver with those picks and get more picks, So kind of rebuild your team quickly like Miami has done. So Chicago's on the clock here. We talked about Caleb Farley and his back surgery. This wasn't his first injury. Farley was already a player with some medical history, as we said before, when he tore his ACL back in 2017. He's had back spasms, which cost him games. He had the microdiscectomy, which, is done on the herniated disc, and it relieves pressure on the spinal nerve root. And when he's healthy, if everything was perfect, Caleb Farley would probably be going 10th to Dallas if he was healthy, but he's not. Farley also, opted out of the year as well. So not only did he opt out, he's had more back injuries. That's kind of scary. Chicago does need a corner though, and he's falling. So I think Chicago will just, I don't feel like Chicago's going to be winning anything anytime soon with Andy Dalton at quarterback. No disrespect, but, so if you need to give him all of training camp to not do anything, then so be it. Like, it's okay. He's still going to be your best corner. So they're going to go ahead and select Caleb Farley. The Indianapolis Colts are going to be on the clock here. So the Colts are kind of in a situation where the Colts need a corner. But they also need offensive line help. So as far as the corner goes, a guy like Greg Newsome was first team All Big Ten, led the conference in deflections. He's a tackler. He's like, if you're a draft nerd, you'll understand what I'm about to say, right? So there's this safety in the draft. His name is Jamar Johnson, and he is like afraid of tackling. He won't tackle you. He can get in, or he can get takeaways, but if you're running down the lane in him, I don't know what he's gonna do. He's like a deer in the headlights, right? Greg Newsome is the exact opposite of that. Greg Newsome gonna wrap you up and get you to the ground. It don't matter what size he is. It doesn't matter to him. He's going to hit you. You're going to fall. And he's a corner. Is that good? He's a guy that, yes, I got beat for a touchdown on that drive. Whatever. Don't care. Let's go back. Let's do it again. And that's his mindset. He don't drop his head. He doesn't get sad. He's always about the next play. That's what his coaches say. Now, he doesn't really get a lot of interceptions, though, because he only had one in college. So he has to get better with turning those passes defended into interceptions. But outside of that, he's a damn good corner. And I think he's worthy of being, picked at 24 or picked at 21. So Newsome is the pick here. Tennessee's on the clock. Tennessee did let Corey Davis walk. And there is a receiver sitting there out of Minnesota who ran a 4.39. And as I said before, I thought he was going to run a little bit lower than that. And when I went back and watched some tape on him, I realized that he has straight line speed. He doesn't really have football speed, right? Like on the field, Rashad Bateman doesn't look like he runs a 4.39. He just doesn't. He looks like he runs like a 4.4 or 4.05, which is what I thought he was going to run. But in 31 games, he had 147 catches, 2,300 yards. He's a really good option, really good route runner. And I think he'll fit opposite A.J. Brown in Tennessee with Derrick Henry in the backfield. So Rashad Bateman's going to be the pick here. As we get to the New York Jets are going to be on the clock here. And if I'm the Jets, right, I'm kind of in an interesting situation here, right? Because the Jets, for example, need the Jets need defense badly, right? Like I feel like if you're the Jets, you kind of have to, do we want to take a corner here? As we pull up the corner position here, do we want to take Eric Stokes here? Maybe, but I mentioned Kelvin Joseph, who I believe is maybe the best corner on the board. You could take him, but he does have those off the field issues that I talked about, right? So what's actually going to happen here is Cleveland is going to move. Cleveland is going to jump Jacksonville and Pittsburgh to go up to the Jets pick. And the Jets are happy because the Jets are like, we want to bail. We want to get an extra pick because we still feel like we can get a corner, right? And later in the first round. So the Browns are going to come up with the Jets, right? So they are going to swap ones, and the Browns are going to give up 110, which is their fourth round pick, to go up 3 spots. So we'll send an offer over, and we'll see what we get. So the Jets have accepted the offer, and the Cleveland Browns are coming up to get Christian Barmore. He didn't really get a lot of snaps against the run, as we talked about before with his run numbers, but he's an elite rusher when it comes to getting after the quarterback. 65 pressures over 2 seasons. Malik Jackson and Sheldon Richardson are both free agents after the 2021 season. You need interior help badly. The Browns do have a meeting or wanting to set up a meeting with Jadeveon Clowney for a second visit, so they may have help outside at edge rusher, but they ain't said nothing about defensive tackle. So I'm going to go ahead and just give them Christian Barmore here. I just think Barmore is an elite pass rusher when it comes to getting after the quarterback. I just don't know what he's like against the run. So the Steelers are going to be on the clock here. And, the Steelers do need corner and the offensive tackle, and they need running back. They also could use a linebacker. So there's a linebacker that is sitting here. His name is Jamin Davis, right? And I know that a lot of people will say, well, what about this Zaven Collins guy? Well, here's the issue that I have with Zaven Collins, right? I don't know what Zaven Collins is, right? Because Zaven Collins is just really big. He can hit, but all he does is fill space in coverage. He doesn't have any elite athleticism when it comes to dropping into zone and covering people. Like, he just doesn't. He's a big Sam linebacker who's like 250, 260, and he's built like an edge rusher, except he doesn't rush the passer. He's not a refined pass rusher. So I don't know what he is, which is why I believe he's going to go in the second round, and the team's just going to mold him into what they want. But I just think there is a linebacker that is sitting right here out of Kentucky that might be, behind JOK and Parsons, may be the best linebacker in the draft. So Pittsburgh isn't going to take him. But Pittsburgh is going to get a call from an AFC team. It's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to come up, and they're going to get Jamin Davis. So the Chiefs are going to give up 31 for 24, and they're also going to throw in, let's say the Chiefs can throw in a 4. So maybe a 4. We'll do a 4 because the 3 is going to be way too much. So we'll do a 4. So the Chiefs throw in a 136 to go up to get Jamin Davis, right? So we'll do that. And I know some people will be confused and say, well, this was only X amount of picks here. This was only 1 4th round pick. Why is it the same? Well, the later you get into drafts, the less value specific picks have, right? So I went ahead and just did that. So I don't want people to feel like, well, you did this one trade and then it's a similar trade for the same amount of spots, but it's not the same capital. And again, it's because as the draft goes on, each pick becomes less valuable. So like, for example, let's say the Saints, right? Let's say the Saints wanted to go and get a quarterback, right? The Saints have to give up way more capital to go up to the top 10 to get a quarterback because the picks that they are going to be giving up are less valuable. So you have to give up a bunch more to get to where you want to go. But let's say a team like the Vikings wanted to get a quarterback. They don't have to give up as much as the Saints because the Saints have to give up more of their actual 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick capital because they're not worth that much. Does that make sense? So that's why the trades kind of end up like that. So the Chiefs come up. They're going to go ahead and select Jamin Davis. The Jaguars are on the clock here as well. They are going to not, deter from what they've been doing. They're going to select Trevon Merrick. As I said about running back, any position is worthy of going in the first round. I don't care what the position is, unless it's special teams. Merrick came from a really good TCU secondary, all Big 12, AP second team All-American, Jim Thorpe Award winner, first team All-Conference, 6 INTs and 20 PBUs in 22 games. At safety, that's incredible. So I go ahead and give them Trevon Merrick. The New York Jets are on the clock here, and the Jets are going to take a corner because they need corners badly. Eric Stokes is here, Asante Samuel Jr. is here, and so is Kelvin Joseph. When I look at these 3 players, I believe that the best player on the board is Asante Samuel Jr., right? And I have to kind of catch myself because I kind of buried Asante Samuel Jr. in some other mocks. And it's not intentional, but any kind of knock on Asante Samuel Jr. always, and I mean always, comes back to his physical size. And that is the only issue because he stands 5'10" and he weighs 180 pounds. I don't care. He has bite. He's an alpha. He was a captain. His teammates believed in him. They followed him. He is a sound cover corner. He allowed a 46.2 passer rating last season, which was best in the entire draft class. Now, he only had 4 takeaways in 33 games, but I would love to see him get his hands on more interceptions and more fumbles and things like that. Kind of be like his father, who was like the king of pick sixes. But if he can do that, he could potentially be up there with Surtain and Horn as the best corner prospects in this class when we look back at it in 5 to 6 years or something like that. So they're going to go ahead and select Asante Samuel Jr. Out of Florida State. The Baltimore Ravens are on the clock here, and the Ravens, as I said in mock draft 1.0, Eric DaCosta, is talking about Mercedes and cars when it comes to getting quarterbacks, and none of that's irrelevant because it's a yes or no question. Is Lamar Jackson your quarterback? If the answer is yes, you need to continue to put weapons around Lamar Jackson. Period. If you want to take Kadarius Toney, you are more than welcome to take Kadarius Toney. If you want to take Elijah Moore, you're more than welcome to. I'm taking Terrace Marshall. And if I'm Baltimore, I'm also doubling down. I'm coming back in the third round to get another wide receiver. Once I take Terrace Marshall, I'm looking at Nico Collins out of Michigan or Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State in the third, or Daz Newsome out of UNC, or Frank Darby out of Arizona State. I'm looking at those receivers if I'm Baltimore as well, because if I'm going to pay Lamar Jackson a whole bunch of money to be my franchise quarterback, which, realistically, you're going to have to pay him more than Dak Prescott, which means you're going to have to pay him more than $40 million a year, right? If that's your investment and if that's what you believe in, then you need to make sure he has things around him that allow him to thrive and be successful to get your money's worth. Because don't pay the man and be like, oh, well, he's not a good passer and he's throwing to Willie Snead. Like, I just don't see how that makes any sense. Especially if you're the Ravens and you believe in him, then give him help. So we're going to take Terrace Marshall here. The New Orleans Saints are going to be on the clock here. And I know that last mock draft, I said, Kadarius Toney was this and Kadarius Toney was that. Kadarius Toney is a first-round player with a lot of baggage. Like, as I said before, baggage isn't a hobby. I'm talking about guns and assault and fights and suspensions and that kind of stuff. Those are the issues that come with Kadarius Toney. Now, do we want to put Kadarius Toney in New Orleans and on Bourbon Street and trust him? I don't know, right? Because I just haven't seen the maturity in him to believe that he could handle that, right? But the Saints need a weapon. They need someone opposite Michael Thomas. Alvin Kamara is still there. Michael Thomas is going to be back healthy. I don't know who playing quarterback. I would hope it's Jameis Winston and not Taysom Hill. But I'm going to go ahead and give them Kadarius Toney just because he is the more explosive receiver on the board right now. So Green Bay's on the clock here, and Green Bay is kind of happy because Green Bay's like, oh, we didn't have to take, Kadarius Toney or trade out, because I still believe the Packers organization just ain't dealing with Kadarius Toney. I just don't believe it. Like, I think you have a quarterback who may not even be there anymore. You have receivers who are not outspoken. They kind of go to work, do their job, catch 20 touchdowns in a season, and be all pro and just be successful. And that's what Green Bay is all about. I don't think that's what Kadarius Toney is about. So, but Green Bay's lucky because there's a wide receiver out of Ole Miss that is everything that Green Bay wants. He only has one knock against him, right? But we'll talk about that. So, this dude is electric. The amount of times this receiver makes people miss on tape is wild. He has strong hands. He gets into the end zone. He played at Ole Miss, and he also broke A.J. Brown's reception record. So they're going to go ahead and select Elijah Moore, the wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, Elijah does have a couple flaws. One big one is Elijah is the guy that is responsible for the piss and miss. And if you don't know what the piss and miss is, piss and miss was something that happened in the Egg Bowl where he scores towards I think it's like at the end of the game, actually, he scores, and his team has to kick the extra point to tie the game, right? And he runs into the end zone, he crawls, he lifts his leg up and acts like he's peeing like a dog. So they get penalized. So the kick moves back, 15 yards? Kick moves back, and the kicker misses, and they lose the game because of the penalty. So that's really the only knock against him. And he didn't really play outside. He played in the slot, but that's another knock against him. But as far as like character concerns, that's the only thing is the piss and miss. And look, you ain't doing that with Aaron Rodgers. I can tell you that right now, because he'll get you straight. So Elijah Moore is the pick here. A lot of receivers in this draft in the first round, but it's a deep class. It'll be the same thing in the second round as well. Pick 30, though, we're going to go edge rusher here for Buffalo. I did give them Christian Barmore in the last mock, and some guy commented and was like, what do you mean Christian Barmore? We need people against the run. And I was like, is Christian Barmore going to walk in and be your best defensive tackle? Yes, he is. All right. Next question. So Jalen Phillips is going to be the pick here because Christian Barmore is gone. Buffalo may get lucky and get this guy, and he'll be healthy as a horse, and he'll be a dominant edge rusher. The problem is you don't know if you're going to get that. You're hoping that he doesn't get hurt, but honestly, the most you may get out of him is like 8 games a season, just because at no point in his life has he ever been durable. So now you're going to put him in like the toughest football, the toughest level of football, and expect him to be healthy. Like, I just don't see how that's going to work. But I would take the chance on him just because I'm like, look, we can figure something out with these medicals because you are the best pass rusher in this draft class. And I want you on my team. We'll figure out the rest later. I think that's what it's going to be in Buffalo. So Buffalo will go ahead and take Jalen Phillips. So, and the Buffalo does need, like he said, help against the run. But I think you can get that later on in the draft. Aleem McNeil, Tyler Shelvin. Tyler Shelvin's like 350, just big, just fat, just fills space, shuts the run down. That's the guy, Buffalo could potentially target, in the third round or so, or early in the fourth. So there is defensive line help. You don't have to, there is defensive tackle help. You don't have to like reach on Levi Onwuzurike at 30. Though I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't recommend that. So, pick 31 though, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock here, and the Steelers are going to go ahead and select Sam Cosmi. Cosmi played 30 games at offensive tackle, 14 at right, 21 at left. So he brings, flexibility. The Steelers will take him because they're wiped out at corner. So just protect your quarterback. And when I mentioned Baltimore's pick, I mentioned the term double dip when picking for the Ravens because double dip. When I say double dip, here's what I mean, right? Double dip means to go back and get the same thing, right? So when I said the Ravens should double dip a receiver, they should take one in the first round and go back in the third and get one. Pittsburgh needs to do the same thing here. When I say double dip at offensive line, you need to go back in the second or third round and get you an offensive lineman. You have to. You got to go back and get you a Creed Humphrey or Quinn Miners out of Wisconsin Whitewater to play center and replace Pouncey because your offensive line is wrecked. Your corners are not good either, but corner is still pretty deep. You can get Robert Rochelle out of Central Arkansas or DJ Daniel out of Georgia in the fourth. It's deep. But as far as center, you need to come away with Creed Humphrey or Quinn Miners. You have to. You got to get your offensive line together. And your quarterback's old now, so Ben ain't about to be running around like it's 2006. So protect him for the year that you have him. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are on the clock. And Tampa is in a position much like a lot of teams where their top need doesn't really fit with what's available. Again, I'm not taking Levi Onwuzurike in the first round. I'm not. I'm also not taking a running back for Tampa Bay. Absolutely not. So they don't need a running back. They do need edge rushers, but I don't feel really good about a guy like Jason Owe, and I'll explain why. So I believe Jason Owe is playing the wrong position. I believe Jason Owe, when I say Jason Owe, I'm talking about Jason Owe, the edge rusher out of Penn State. Jason Owe is playing the wrong position. Jason Owe is a tight end, and he doesn't even know it. He is so athletic. He is so fast. And if he was in open space, he'd be great. The problem is he plays defensive end, and he's slow. His speed in that 40 that he ran did not show up on tape. It didn't. He's a tight end to me, but I'm not comfortable taking him in the first round. It's gonna sound crazy when I say it, but like if I'm Jacksonville, right? I'm not comfortable taking Jason Owe at 25, but I'm damn sure comfortable taking him at 33. As weird as it sounds, I'm more comfortable taking him at 33. So we're gonna do a trade here, and the Miami Dolphins are gonna come up. Because the Dolphins are going to run 12 personnel with one running back and two tight ends, so they need a running back. You have to have a running back to execute your offense. So they're going to trade up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Swap, and then they're also going to give up 156. And it's really hard because I would give up a 4 to go here. But because they don't have a 4, a 3 is going to be way too rich to go up 4 spots, right? So what I did was I'll give up 156, and then we'll give up a 4 next year. And that should get it done. So we'll go ahead and do this. We'll send this offer over, and they're going to come up to select Najee Harris. So we'll get our running back. We'll get Najee Harris, and works out perfectly for Tua. Tua needs a running back to hand the ball off to. You have added Kyle Pitts and Najee Harris to the Dolphins. Like, at this point, if Tua still stinks, then maybe Tua just stinks, and we can get somebody else in to play quarterback. But if you add all these weapons and Tua has success, then we may be cooking with gas, right? You get the best running back in the class and you get him cheap for 5 years. Come on. That's like a dream scenario for the Dolphins. So we're going to run the mock. Let's see if it'll let me scroll down. We're going to run the mock here. Pick 1, Jacksonville. They're going to take Trevor Lawrence. Pick 2, the Jets select Zach Wilson. Justin Fields goes to San Francisco. Lance on the trade up goes to Denver. Chase goes to Cincinnati. Kyle Pitts goes to the Miami Dolphins. Devontae Smith to the Detroit Lions. Penei Sewell to the Panthers. On a trade up, Mac Jones goes to the Washington football team. Pat Surtain, the second, goes to Dallas. Parsons, the linebacker out of Penn State, goes to New York. Plays for the football Giants. Jalen Waddle goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. And Howie Roseman looks like a genius by still getting a receiver and an additional first-round pick next year. So Christian Darrisaw goes before Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater goes to Minnesota to play guard, much like Zach Martin did. JOK goes to New England. JC Horn goes to Arizona. Tevin Jenkins goes to Las Vegas. Azeez Ojulari goes to Miami. Kwity Paye goes to Atlanta. Caleb Farley goes to Chicago. Greg Newsome II goes to Indianapolis. Rashad Bateman goes to Tennessee to replace Corey Davis. On a trade up here, the Browns are going to select Christian Barmore. On a trade up, Jamin Davis is going to go to the Chiefs. Asante Samuel Jr. is going to go 26 to the New York Jets. Terrace Marshall is going to go 27th to the Baltimore Ravens because we have to make sure Lamar Jackson has weapons if he's the guy of the future. Kadarius Toney goes 27 to the Saints. We're going to put him on Bourbon Street. I don't know if I trust that, but I mean, he's a really good player. Elijah Moore goes to Green Bay to play in the slot. Jalen Phillips goes to will go to Buffalo to play edge rusher. Sam Cosmi goes to play tackle in Pittsburgh, and the Miami Dolphins will select Najee Harris. And that is going to wrap up the mock draft 4.0. Hope you guys enjoyed the mock. Make sure you guys continue to give it a thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe. And we'll be back with mock draft 5.0 real soon. Again, hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'll talk to you guys after a while. Y'all be good.